Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, and how to build strong family relationships. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about teaching grandparents how to support your family culture. In this video, we're going to talk about your culture, what makes it unique, and some key things that you can do to help the grandparents help you have your own family culture. So what is culture? Culture comes from the Latin word cultur, which means to nourish, to strengthen, to correct. So your family culture is the way that you are growing those little seedlings called children, okay? It's the way that you nourish them, the way that you teach them and correct them. And you probably have been pretty deliberate about how you want to do that. In fact, if you're on this channel, I'm pretty sure that you are watching videos about how to teach your children to govern themselves, right? And so if you're going down that direction, you're teaching them skills that they need for their own self-government, you're teaching them calm, good communication, and you're hoping that when they spend time with grandma and grandpa, or when grandma and grandpa come to visit, that they're not going to undo the cultural things that you've already done. Because it's true, sometimes we come from environments where the parents weren't calm, or maybe we come from environments where the parents were a little bit too indulgent, and they start passing that on to the grandchildren and then undermining what we're trying to do in our homes. There's also this general idea out there that grandparents will sometimes buy into, that it's their job to spoil their grandchildren. In fact, they say it's their right to spoil grandchildren, and that's what they want to do. And many parents are concerned that that spoiling will go so far that it actually undermines the culture or the corrections and teachings that the parents are trying to do to help protect and nourish or strengthen their children. And I do understand how that could be a problem that you might be concerned with. Now, always good, respectful grandparents should want to know about your culture and how you're raising your children so that they can support you. But sometimes they may not be recognizing the pieces that you want them to use, or basically they just may not know what they don't know. So how do you tell them? Let's talk about that. Now, a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about are from this book, Parenting a House United, which is actually my main book. It's a best-selling book that contains all of the nuts and bolts that you need to have a home environment where people are self-governing. And actually, I'm going to give it to you for free. There's a link in the description below this video that you can click on, and you can get this book completely for free. I mean, you'll have to pay like a little shipping charge so that we can get it to you, but other than that, totally free. So click on that link now, or at the end of the video. So what do we do to help these grandparents and to teach the grandparents, the maybe old dogs that don't necessarily like learning new tricks? Okay, so the first thing is we need to be patient with them. We need to understand they have a whole other set of life experiences that they are drawing from. They have how they were parented and also how they have parented now other people, and they've been watching you and other parents, and they've got all these ideas floating around. They like to share ideas. They like to give advice. Be patient. Let them give advice. You don't have to do everything that they say. In fact, you can say, hey, thanks for that advice. I'll think about it. Right? I appreciate you thinking of me and giving me some suggestions of something that I haven't thought about before. I'll think about it. I'll see if that's a fit, right? That's all you have to say. Just acknowledge they're thinking of you, that they care, because you know what? When they give all that advice, maybe some of that advice that you don't want, they're giving it because they care. They're not giving it because they want to control you. Stop putting that on them. Okay, I know there's a few of them that do want to control. Okay, I'm going to say that. I've met a few grandparents and I've seen a few in action who want to control. Luckily, none of my parents or my husband's parents were that way, and I certainly hope that me, now that I'm a grandparent, am not that way. But there are some maybe narcissistic type grandparents who want to control everything. Okay, you might have to maintain some additional boundaries there. This is not the video for that. I have other videos on narcissism, so please check those out if you're dealing with a loved one with narcissism or who you suspect might be narcissistic. Now let's talk about right now, though, the patience that you need to have, because we need to give, in our minds, we need to say, okay, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They have the best intentions. They're trying to be patient, and I am going to honor that. I'm going to assume that any suggestion they give me or anything that they do comes from the best intentions. That said, if they are being grumpy, angry, aggressive, or too passive with your child, you have to do something about it, right? That's important. You've got to establish boundaries so that your child doesn't get too confused. So how do you do that? So if you've been watching the videos on this channel, then you know I teach something called the 4 basic skills, and these children's books each teach one of the 4 basic skills. So this one teaches following instructions, this one teaches accepting no answers and criticism, this one teaches accepting consequences, and then this one teaches disagreeing appropriately. Those 4 basic skills take care of 99% of the behavioral problems that you might encounter. So because of that, they are going to be usable for anyone, for teachers, parents, grandparents, anyone. So if you're using the skills, don't keep them to yourself. Teach the skills to grandma and grandpa too. In fact, maybe suggest that grandma and grandpa read some of these books to the grandchildren so that they can learn the skills. And you can say, these are skills that we are learning in our family, and when a child does not do one of the steps to these skills, we correct it. So those 4 basic skills are a key thing that the grandparents are going to need to know. But it could also be beneficial to teach them how to correct behaviors the same way you do. So in this book that I talked about, in the Parenting House United book, you know, the one you're going to get for free, this book teaches how to correct behaviors in a way that is calm, loving, understanding, and helps the person bond as they're being corrected. So often grandparents don't want to correct grandchildren because they don't want to experience that disconnection that can occur when a correction happens. So if a child has a bad association with being corrected, then they can pull away from someone who's correcting them. Grandparents don't want to be pulled away from. They want to maintain a closeness to the child no matter what. They don't want to be the bad guy. They'd rather have the parents be the bad guy. But nobody has to be the bad guy if everybody understands the 4 basic skills and how corrections are going to happen. And if you take it a step further in this book, there's also steps to pre-teaching, intensive teaching, praising, parent counseling sessions. These are all things that can be used by grandparents too when they're watching children or just spending time with the children. There are so many things that grandparents can do to help their children, to touch the lives of their children. And it really does start with learning what they don't know already. Let's say the grandparent really has no interest in learning any new tricks or new skills. They don't want to change. They want to keep, yelling, or they want to keep doing nothing, or whatever it is that they do. Then what you have to do is you have to put a little bit more of responsibility on your child. You need to pre-teach your child every time they're with grandma and grandpa. Now make sure that you follow instructions, and remember, these are the steps. Make sure you accept no answers, you disagree appropriately. You're going to remind them of the skills that they know, and then you're going to say, when you do these things with grandma and grandpa, I will give you praise afterward. There will be a reward afterward. I know that you can do these things even if someone is not going to correct you. You need to do that because that decreases grandma and grandpa's stress, or maybe it will teach them that you do those things. And maybe you can even say, okay, I'll follow your instruction, so that they know you're using a skill, so that they can remember that in the future. They can learn these skills too, maybe bit by bit. So sometimes you do have to teach the child to teach the grandparents. That's not the easiest way to do it, but it is possible. We did have a situation with a grandparent with my children that we felt like we needed to teach them some of our standards, and it was different than what the grandparent wanted to have the video standard be. They wanted to show the child lots and lots and lots of videos, but the child had to accept a no answer after 2 videos after, on a date with grandma and grandpa. They weren't going to sit in front of videos the whole day. I just wasn't going to have it happen because they would come home so selfish. So then they just told grandma and grandpa, I have to accept a no answer after 2 videos, no more videos, And so then the grandparents are like, okay, well, what am I going to do with that? Fine, I won't have them watch any more videos. The other thing that you can do, which we did in this same circumstance, is I would say to the grandma, hey, I've brought these 2 videos that they can watch, and after that, I would sure love for them to have a memory making time with you. Maybe teach them something that you like to do, because then they could always remember that in the years to come. Ooh, now that speaks to the grandma's heart, right? So it's not telling them they're doing anything wrong when they think kids watching movies is what they want, but instead giving them a vision of something else they could be doing instead. So that was another thing that I utilized with a grandmother when my children would go and visit. Remember that free book? Don't forget to go and get it. It's in the description below this video. So click on the link for the free book and get it. Right now you just have to pay that little bit of shipping so that we can ship it to you. But other than that, book completely free, and it is life changing. So I hope you enjoy it.